Hi, folks. Welcome to the View podcast for this week. And apologies to everybody. I said I'd get this out on Thursday, but I'm sick and I'm getting sicker. So I decided I couldn't stare at a light in the camera all evening. So I decided to take myself to bed. So we did it today instead. And Kev and Max have agreed to jump back on and chat with me today. So, lads, I appreciate giving them some time on your Saturday to do this with me as well. We're going to talk about a few bits and pieces. Mostly going to talk about the week news with Leeds, which has been several exits from the club. Michael Skubala, Finley Gorman, and rumours around Harry Gray as well. But we are going to talk and start off talking about the Plymouth game. Before we get into that, Max, how's your week been, mate?
Been all right, yeah. It's been a bit weird without Leeds again, but I think this is the last international break, isn't it now, until till next year. So at least we'll have regular Leeds, and I know December's action-packed, so I can't wait to get into the thick of the championship.
Yeah, I'm sick of international breaks. We got bad news again before we even kicked the ball this week. Was Ireland definitely can't qualify for the Euros, and we're like, great, okay, we haven't been played yet. All right, brilliant. Yeah, Kev, how have you been, mate?
Yeah, I've been good. I'll just have to mirror what Max says. It's been really quiet week for anything Leeds related until we'd speak today. But yeah, no more international breaks for a while, and it's going to be blockbuster now over the next 3 months for Leeds, isn't it? It's going to be games all the time. There's going to be so much stuff for us to talk about, as well as watch and go to the game. So yeah, really look forward to it. Getting over this international break.
Yeah, I can't wait. Let's done and dusted and crack on with football, and coming into a very busy December as well, which is about 7 games in a couple of weeks over Christmas as well. So it's gonna be nuts. And we're back Friday night as well, which is great in one sense because we get to see them before. We have to wait the full weekend to see the team play. It's some bad sides to it as well. Daniel Farke has said, Max, that the players won't get a chance to train together before the game on Friday against Rotherham.
Yeah, and he mentioned how the other teams in the championship don't have this problem because they don't have as many internationals. But he was kind of like, I do get like we can't. It's like first world problems, isn't it? Like we have got a lot of players who are so good that they play for their international teams from the championship. So he kind of did see the funny side of that. That obviously we've got some very, very good players in our squad, but it is a shame because, like you say, it would have been nice to get them back in training before that game. But I think even without it, the guys that aren't on international duty probably make up most of the squad, and we should have enough players to and enough in terms of quality as well to get past Rotherham. It's just it's not great, is it, to be in this situation, but it's sort of the best we can do. Well, with what we've got,
it's a conspiracy. It's always a conspiracy, isn't it? Kev, how are you feeling about going into Friday night's game with the lack of prep? Do you think we'll still be okay?
I think we'll still be okay against Rotherham. Yeah, I really do. I actually think it's a good thing because we put pressure on Ipswich and Leicester. Then if we win on Friday, they're going into the game thinking that's another 3 points they've caught us up on now. So it puts a lot of pressure on them. And this is why I like that we're going straight back in and playing before both of them. So before we kicked
the ball against Leicester, we could have been they could have been 17 points ahead if they won that game, and now it's 8. And as you're saying there, it could be 5.
Mm-hmm. Puts the pressure on them, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, I think so. It's great. It's only 8 points. Easy doable. Plot back in no time. Kev, I'm going to start back with you because you made a very bold prediction last Friday night for the game against Plymouth, where you went for it was 2-0, but tight. Very tight.
No, I think I said 6-0. I think I said 6-0 or 6-1. Yeah.
Who said 2 then? Was it Max or was it you, Max?
I can't remember what my prediction was, to be honest. I can't remember.
Watched it. I think Max, you said. I think you said it was like going to be a low-scoring game. I went for 6-1. I thought we were going to absolutely obliterate them. Obviously, I was very wrong, but yeah, 6-1. I'll get it right one game.
Yeah, we did. I think we did obliterate them in terms of the football in the first half because I felt I got a little bit annoyed towards the end of the first half. I thought we start taking the piss a bit. I thought instead of being ruthless and going finishing them off, we start tapping the ball around the edge of the box. Or you have a go, no, you have a go, no, you have a go, and we kept losing it. I thought there was opportunities where we could have been 3 or 4 out of sight. There was a little bit of messing going on the pitch where I think we saw Daniel Farke come off the out of the dugout or away from the dugout, Max. Screaming at a couple of players. He was not happy what was going on towards the end of the first half.
Yeah, he makes a point of this, doesn't he? Does Daniel Farke? He says and I think he said it in a few interviews before, and sort of, well, not interviews, his press conferences, and he's alluded to it before that he doesn't like his players to almost take the mick. He gets that players want to do flicks and tricks and stuff, but not at the expense of the opposition, where it's actually the sole purpose of it is to wind people up and make them look bad and stuff. But so when players do start doing things like that, I think that's when Farke's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go mad at these guys."
Yeah, I did think he would be a little bit annoyed about it, because to that point it was taking that they were trying to take the mick, and there was only 2-0 at that stage. Like, Kev, did the game go the way you thought it would go? Did you think we were gonna get free scoring in the second half? We'd clock up a few more goals in the second half, and then ultimately it ends up being a little bit unnecessarily tight towards the end of the game. Yeah,
I thought we were going to, because normally we're always, I find that sometimes we're better in the second half, especially when we've been, like, when Farke doesn't like it. Sorry, let me just rephrase that. As Max just said there, when you said that when they get hammered for taking the mick by Farke, they normally come out a lot better in the second half, and it just felt a bit flat when they came out, really, didn't it? And just nothing was working. It's like watching England play. There's just nothing was happening and gelling. It was just crap, really. Thinking about it, yeah.
Is points more than performance, though, I think, game by the end of it.
Do you know what I thought? We should learn a lesson from this game, and the biggest lesson for me is that, in the Huddersfield game we were 4-0 up, and you can sit off for the second half. And I get it's not the most entertaining thing for the crowd, but it can be a good way to do things to preserve energy and stuff. So I get it in that game. I think it almost felt like we did it in this game, even though it was only 2-0. And then going into that second half on my live stream, I was saying 2-0 is a dangerous scoreline. I said it's one of the oldest cliches in football, but there's a reason it's a cliche, because as soon as they get one, it's more of a psychological thing than anything. It's like, they think they can, even if they've been dominated the whole time, if they can keep it to 2-0, as soon as they score, they're like, it's only one goal now. It's only one goal. And they get that belief to go forward. And we did okay after they scored to just sort of suffocate them until the point where they had no hope again. But I did feel like we kind of stepped off it a little bit too early. And I thought, we need to learn a lesson from this. You can't do that when you're only 2-0 up, no matter who it is in the league. You cannot set off at that. If you're winning 3-0 or 4-0, then fair enough, it's a tactical decision. But I think if it's 2-0, and I don't know if it was actually purposely done like that, but it felt like that from watching it. I got that feeling that they kind of just stepped off a little bit, and whether that was something instructed by Farke or what the players did themselves, it's something that they need to learn from and be aware of and not do again.
It's a dangerous scoreline for a reason, because it's the next goal dictates what's going to happen in the game. You're 2-0 up. If you get third, fine, you win it. They score, it gets wobbly. And the problem with what you're saying there, Max, is it is very hard to get going again once you've dropped off. Yeah. It's very difficult to get the pace back in the legs when you've been going at 60% for a while. It's really hard to reignite yourself and get going again. You hope to come out of the tunnel at halftime, go through the little quick warm-up that they do, and go back out and hit it, at the same tempo. But they'd already dropped off before the half. So it's so hard to get a team going when it starts to go flat, because you're asking players who've been standing around and walking to now start sprinting and running again. And it's not on the legs at that point. You've kind of cooled down a little bit, and it's very hard to speed up again. So there was a bit of that. It's something, Kev, we've talked about this before. We are not a good team when we do it slowly. We are a very good team when we play quickly. And in the second half in that game, and probably towards the end of the first half, Kev, I thought we went back to walk and pace football, and it really does not suit us.
It was from the start of the match, you can see how slow they were playing from out the back. But I agree with you that we slowed down a lot at the end of the first half, and then, as you mentioned, it's just carried on. And it's like, I've played football. You guys played football. When you're not at it, everybody's not at it, and it just felt like it was just lethargic. But the only positive that I can take from that really is that we still see out matches, and we've done that in the past two games. And even against Leicester, it's like backs to the wall towards the end, but they didn't have no chances. And I felt like it was the same with Plymouth. We know how to see out matches at the moment, and that's what's giving me a lot of confidence, is that we can go that far this year, because even when we're not playing well, we can still defend. and we've never had that for at least the last 3-4 years. And it's the only thing that I'm really confident in when we're playing not very good is that we can still defend.
Yeah, especially set pieces, which we've shown we're getting better at again, which is against the lower teams. It's always a set piece that worries me. It's always conceding a corner in the 85th minute or something, or a free kick, and out wide. It's going to be whipped in, and someone's going to make a mistake now, or there's going to be a hand or a penalty or something will happen. But we seem to be seeing the games out, which is what you're saying, Kev, which is great as well. We were helped out this weekend by a Leeds player where Sam Greenwood finally put a free kick in the top corner in the Championship, with an absolute gem of a free kick. Max, Leicester having a wobble?
I think. Look, I think we all said that nobody can keep that up the whole season, and I think we said as soon as somebody beats them, you might see that it's a little bit of a slide of everybody knows that they can be got at now. Everybody knows that they can be beaten. And obviously they took a loss early in the season, but since then they've just been steamrolling everyone. But I think everybody now knows that there's a chance against Leicester. And if you can hold on and score one goal, because Middlesbrough essentially did what we did to Leicester. I didn't watch the rest of the game, but just the fact that they got up to that point without conceding and then were able to go bang, free kick, top corner, and then hold on till the end. I think that's the way to beat Leicester, is to hold on, to not concede, to be solid and nick a goal, and then just be like, break us down. And they didn't manage to do it against us, and they didn't manage to do it against Middlesbrough. By the way, what a free kick by Sam Greenwood. Why did he never do that for us? Honestly,
wasn't the pitch long enough, mate.
No, there was a guy, I can't remember what his name was, so I won't name anyway because it's not really fair, but on when we did the final word on Joe's channel, and there was a guy who kept spamming in the comments, recall Sam Greenwood from loan, get him back. But I was like, he's done one good thing, just like chill.
4 goals in 6 games.
Yeah,
which playing as number 10, which I think is the issue for our fans.
We've seen this before, though, with so many players where they go out on loan and they do really well. Cody Drama, for example. Everybody's like, oh, Cody Drama's going to be fantastic. He comes back to Leeds and he doesn't do anything. Some players just don't want to do anything for Leeds. I don't know why, but some players just don't.
Well, I've gotten stick about this, and you've been on Joe's show plenty of times with me, and I've said for a long time, I think there's a really good player in Sam Greenwood. I think he just needs more opportunities, play him in his natural position. We didn't do that. Again, it's a problem with Leeds having a young player who you're just not playing in his natural position. Stop playing him out wide. Stop playing him as a defensive midfielder. He's a 10. That's where he does his damage. And he's got 4 goals and 6 starts this season now. After struggling to get into the team initially, he's got in, he's made his mark, he's got a couple of assists as well. The issue here for me, and I'm going to be a bit smug for a second because I never get to be smug. I was so wrong about Glenn Kamara. I have to try and level myself out here a little bit. I don't remember anybody saying loaning out Sam Greenwood was a mistake. I don't remember one person on Twitter. I don't remember one Leeds fan. I don't remember seeing one comment from anyone who said this was a mistake. And now, all of a sudden, we've got to recall him. That's a terrible deal. It's like at the start of the season, if somebody had taken Sam Greenwood off of us for $1.5 million, nobody would have said a word. Nobody would have said a word. The fact that now he's got 4 goals in 6 games, we don't have a natural number 10, and he's playing in a number 10, and Middlesbrough are flying up the table. Now all of a sudden, people are saying, "Oh well, $1.5 million was a stupid deal. Oh, it's a terrible deal. We shot ourselves in the foot here. Get him back. Can we recall him?" And the sad reality of this is, we can't recall him. I don't think there's a recall clause in it. It's an option to buy. It's a bargain. It's an absolute bargain. Even if he just maintains the performance that he's got right now, it doesn't get any better. That's for the Championship. If he's still a top half Championship player, we've lost out on money there as well. But yeah, Kev, what have you thought about it?
Headphones just gone. Sorry, guys, give me a second. Yeah, I'm on the fence on this one. I'm still kind of yes. If we do sell him for 1.5 million, it seems cheap now after having a good few games. But I'll be honest, I didn't want him anywhere near the first team at the start of the year when we had Sinistera and we had all the players. I thought he was going to be makeshift and he was going to be the ones that go. But now he's out doing bits on loan, helping us. It does look like. I mean, I rate Sam Greenwood as a £4 or £5 million player. if he at the top of his game. So yeah, we've made a mistake there, but I still don't see him starting in a Farke system for us right now at all. Not even.
Yeah, I think the clause is a mistake, and we can say that because certainly Sam Greenwood, if you'd have asked us a few years ago about him when before he broke into the first team at all, and everyone was seeing him in the under-21s or the 23s as it was at the time, everyone was like, "Oh yeah, this guy's going to be incredible. This guy's going to be amazing." So if you'd have said in however many years from then, he's going to be option for 1.5 million.
Yeah,
it's like, yeah. So, but I agree with Kev. If he'd have stayed, nobody would have been calling for him to replace any of our current players. I think when you actually look at it now, even in that form, even in the form he's in, you put him up, you hold him up against any of the players in our front line. I don't think he gets in. So I don't think he gets the opportunity to do what he's doing at Middlesbrough. He kind of needed a team where he would go in, and although yes, he did have to fight for his little place a little bit, but that's because he's new. He has to show his quality for the manager to start believing in him, putting him in the team. He's probably one of the better players because it's a team that haven't been to the Premier League in years and years. Championship squad, very championship squad, and so he's going to look good in that team. And Michael Carrick looks like he's going to be really, really well. Already is a good coach, but you know what I mean. He looks like he's on his way to be a really, really good coach. So maybe this is just a perfect storm for him to go in and do well there. But like I say, he's never done really anything particularly at Leeds, and I don't think he would get in over any of the current Leeds United crop. So the clause, I think, is a mistake. If we brought him back, it would give the club an excuse not to sign a number 10 in January. People would complain about that. I think it's balancing it out and weighing it up, isn't it? But for me, I think that's far too cheap to let him go for. But still, the loan was a good idea, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with the loan. Because again, at the start of the season, when everybody was there, we were looking at Joffrey and we were looking at him as well. And we were looking at the bench thinking, when all these players are back fit, when everyone's available again, just 4 or 5 players are going to drop off that bench into, obscurity a little bit. And he was probably one of the obvious names because he hadn't done, outside the Bournemouth game where he scored that absolute peach, hadn't done a huge amount. But I always felt there was a player in there. I always felt that there was a decent 10 in there. But again, we have this thing about not playing young players in the natural positions, which drives me nuts. Why Leeds have persisted over the years with a square peg round hole philosophy, I've never understood, but it goes back so long. It is what it is. Kev, do you think Leicester and Wish Guardiola are having a bit of a wobble?
He had a bit of a wobble in the press. Was it yesterday or the day before? He come out saying the fans were saying they don't like his football, and he said, "Well, if you want to watch transition football, go and watch Leeds and Plymouth." So yeah, he's having a wobble, and the fans are not liking him at the moment as well. For the past couple of, if you watch Square Ball's propaganda, some of those Leicester fans they're really not enjoying the football under him at the moment. So yeah, they are having a wobble.
It's amazing what a couple of weeks can do because, again, before we played them, if they beat us, they'd have been 17 points clear of us in third, top of the table, guaranteed at that point to cruise the league. And then they hear their fans aren't happy with their football style. I think there's a long way. We've said this a lot. It's a very long season, the Championship. Teams go through runs of form. Teams lose form. We've saw it with Leeds first season under Bielsa when we were top of the league and then fell away and ended up in the playoffs. It happens. But it was the size of the gap that they had, Kev, and now all of a sudden it's down to 8. And as you said it a few minutes ago, if we win on Friday night before they even kick a ball, it's 5 points. It's less than 2 results of a difference now, which is huge.
My biggest take on this, really, as well, is Leicester and Ipswich still have to play each other twice. They haven't played each other yet. And we've got to play Ipswich as well in December at home. Honestly, it's wide open now. Obviously, if we would have lost to Leicester, I would have said, okay, we're trying to catch Ipswich, and that will be it. And that will be the pinnacle of our season. But now we could actually still win this league. And I weren't thinking that a few weeks ago, but everything's all coming up Millhouse. Yeah, it's all coming up Millhouse at the moment, isn't it? So it's just, do you know what? I'm really, really excited for the rest of the season. After Stoke, I thought, we're going to be in that playoffs, aren't we? And something bad's going to happen. But now, HMS, Max, HMS is pulling back up again, isn't it?
Yeah.
The piece for me with the weekend stuff is it is down to 5 points. It does become 2 results. It does become achievable now. It does become attainable. And as you said, with December, there's so many games. And I looked at the start of the season, we looked at the fixture list for Leeds. I think I'd said that December and the last month of the season are very similar. We play a lot of the same teams. Middlesbrough, I think, are in that mix there as well. And they're doing really, really well. So it's a tough December. If we can come out of December with a good few wins, not dropping many points, I think you will drop points over Christmas. Everyone's going to drop a few points. We could be the league table, specifically the top 6, could look very, very different, Kevin. We come out at the back end of December as well.
And African Cup of Nations coming up in January too.
10 games.
There's there's a lot of ground to be made up here. And do you know what? I've been this confident in a while with Leeds. It's just we're winning matches. Fan base is on side. Good. It seems like we're got good owners. I think they're going to strengthen in January too. What's not to love about Leeds at the moment is just brilliant, and
it's the best time for. It's the best time for a point swing, isn't it? It's the time where you can see the most. If we start December and we're on a bit of a roll, you can see us just building up a head of steam and ploughing through teams, and hopefully that coincides with Leicester's confidence dropping, and you could see a swing over. I didn't expect if we win on Friday night and it gets down to 5 points, I did not expect it to. I expected that it was maybe possible, but I didn't expect it to happen this quickly. The gap get down to something that's actually attainable. I did not expect it to do that, and the only thing that we just need to make sure is that we don't do things like what we did at Stoke. That's the thing, because that, even though we played badly, that was a winnable game. So it just has to be. That was so Leedsy. And it was like, just don't do that anymore. We need to be past that. So hopefully we just start winning the games that we should win. And that's exactly what we did against Plymouth. And I was happy with that because we should have been winning that game. Even they had players missing that Ryan Hardy, who's a top scorer, isn't he? And he was missing from that game. So even with him missing, it was still a potential banana skin, but we managed to win the game. And that was what I was like, yes, thank God for that. On to the next one.
I think, Leeds 2 big banana skins that could come over the next set of matches. I'm looking at Blackburn and Middlesbrough. Really, they'd be the 2 teams where I could see us maybe the way they play and their form. They could be the 2 ones for us. And then obviously Ipswich just before Christmas. Ipswich is on the 23rd as well, on a Saturday morning at 12:30, just before Christmas Eve on a Sunday. That's going to be a very big game at Ellen Road, I'm telling you.
And also, it's going to make us all have a really good or really bad Christmas.
Yeah.
Right? Break the whole Christmas.
Yes.
I have fond memories of going home for Christmas every year, and Luke Ayling scoring twice. I think he scored around Christmas the year we got promoted. And the game against Birmingham City, I think it was nuts. It was 4-3 or some stupid score, but it was mad.
Was that the 5-4 one?
Possibly 5-4. Yeah, Ayling scored a little volley from the back post, coming in at an angle and volley the ball into the far corner. I've got good memories, and then Leeds beating Chelsea as well. So I've decent memories around Christmas for Leeds. So I'm hopeful we have a decent time. But you could come out of, in the space of 2 weeks, we could go from being 5 points behind a team to being 2 points clear. It could be, the whole thing could just rapidly change. So everything's great at Leeds at the moment. Owners are on side. Fans are on side. Owners are good owners. Everything's going great. So let's get into the second half of the podcast where we talk about all the people who've left this week. And bring us right back down to earth with a bang. Start off, Michael Skubala, friend of the show. I can say that. Friend of the show.
Yes.
Michael Skubala has left Leeds to go to Lincoln City as their first team manager, which I think was going to happen at some point eventually. In the interview that I did with Michael Skubala, I think I can say this now because he's not longer at the club. I did ask him a question about how bringing Leeds out on Old Trafford and Ellen Road against Manchester United, did that whet his appetite for first team management? I was asked to take that question out then because obviously, it doesn't look good if the under-21 manager is going after the first team job, which I completely understood. So, but he did. He said it did whet his appetite to be a first team manager at a club as well. I think he's a fantastic coach. I think he's done a great job with doing 21s. Max heads off to Lincoln City. Sad to see him go.
Yeah, well, you never really get an under 21s or under 23s or even an assistant manager that sticks around forever, do you? And I think for him, it was obviously the opportunities come up, and you kind of just go, do you know what? Fair play to you. Go and be a first team manager. Somebody, because it's almost like it's not the same as first team management, is it? Because first team management, you're like it's so important. I know it's important for the 20s. You know, it's a different level. It's a different expectation. And for somebody like Skubala, it's like passing on the mantle, really, because he will leave and another young coach will come in and manage the under-21s, and in a few years they'll go on. It's kind of like a rite of passage, isn't it? So it doesn't upset me. Do you know what I mean? Like, you might get another coach in who brings in different ideas and coaches at people slightly differently. And yeah, I'm quite sympathetic to the idea of him moving on and going and getting a first team job and somebody else getting an opportunity to come in and do it. And yeah, I think it's fair enough in this situation. I think it's totally fair enough.
Kev, how you feeling about it?
I'm happy for him. Really happy for him. He's had a very strange journey into like football management. Michael Skubala. He was futsal coach. He coached at a university near me. We call it Luga Baruga, but Loughborough.
Loughborough,
yeah. So he was at Loughborough. So he's done that, and he played well against Man United last year. He's probably the one coach out of Leeds last year that can come out like looking better than what happened last year in my eyes. He deserves it. The under-21 team speak really, really highly of him. You can see they've got a lot more technical as well since he took over. He seems to be a really, really good technical coach. I think we're probably going to lose out in the long run with him leaving, but I'm really, really happy for him. He deserves a chance. And he's just a nice guy as well. I mean, your interview, Joe, that you did for him, yeah, he seems really lovely. He had his head screwed on last year when we were going through turmoil. So I'm really happy for him, and I hope he does really well. And I hope we see some people like McGurk and a couple of the other lads go on loan to Lincoln in January as well, because they need first team football. And at the moment, the way we're playing and the players that we've got, I can't see them getting it through here. So maybe hopefully we even cancel Sonny Perkins and send him across to Lincoln as well. That would be nice. Yeah,
wouldn't it? Yeah, because I don't get the Oxford thing with Sonny Perkins at all. I can't get my head. He dropped from the squad again this week after coming midweek last week, coming up, starting and scoring. He gets dropped out of the squad completely again this week. I have no idea what benefit Leeds have having him at Oxford right now. It doesn't benefit Perkins. He's not getting any minutes at all. Mm-hmm. He may as well be back at Leeds playing on 21s and getting some minutes than sitting in the stand watching Oxford playing. Like, it seems like a crazy decision. But I agree with you. I think there's an opportunity here. If it's a case that Lincoln are struggling in that division and they need to get better players in, he's got a good relationship now with Daniel Farke and Leeds to be able to go, look, you want Lewis Bate out on loan, you want Derek JB out on loan, you want Sean McGurk out on loan, I'll take him. Look at Max Dean at Milton Keynes. Like, that was Mark Jackson took Max Dean with him to Milton Keynes, and Max Dean has obviously outlived Jacko a little bit, but Max Dean's on fire right now in that division. He got 6 goals in his last 7 games or something like that. He's been brilliant down there. So it might be beneficial to those players as well heading out. He's a lovely bloke, Skubala. And Kev, what you said about being a technical coach is really important. That's the futsal background. A lot of people questioned why Leeds would have someone in their coaching staff who has a futsal background. And then you realise how much of the game is played on the ground. You realise how much of the style of play is around futsal, that technical aspect of football as well. But also a lot of the rules. He talked an awful lot in that interview about the rule changes in the modern game with more subs being used, where in futsal it was on-off. So I think he was saying he could make 30, 40 changes per game in futsal, whereas he said now in the Premier League you're looking at, it's now 5 subs, it was 5 from 7, it's now 5 from 9, and all these new things are coming in. And he said it's interesting to see how football coaches have only had a single pathway to being a football coach, how they adapt to using these changes versus a futsal coach who would see the benefit of 5 subs. Absolutely, I'll use them regularly. I'll get these all 5. I'll use every single one of these before the game is over. So it's a very different mindset. He calls it a dual pathway. He went futsal and grass football or association football. So he's on
he wasn't a professional, was he? Was he not a professional footballer himself? Because you don't really see that many people that come and coach and go into management that weren't a player. I don't remember him being a player. So if he's done that without even being a professional footballer, then brilliant. The last one I can remember being like that would be Gerard Houllier. The only
one I can see here is on his Wikipedia, which is pretty small, and that didn't exist even until last year. Michael Skubala, English/Polish coach, EFL League One, Lincoln City, highly rated, 20 years coaching experience, different levels, including Premier League youth football, known as a world-class player developer, apparently. Yes. A unique background in futsal as well, akin to South American and European coaches. So he said, he's followed the background. He's no football career listed here at all.
That's brilliant, isn't it? You don't see that. And if he's gone this far without having that, then that's amazing. That's
Jose was the same as well, though. Jose was a very average footballer.
He was a goalkeeper, wasn't he, Jose Mourinho?
Yeah, he was very average.
You know,
He didn't
sort
do
of
anything
lower
major in his
Portugal
career.
leagues.
Yeah, the best. And he was brought into Barcelona with Bobby Robson as an interpreter. He was a teacher, so he brought him in, and then he goes from that. I mean, can you learn at the feet of a better man than Bobby Robson when he was involved at Barcelona?
Tell you what, Joe, my partner would be very happy with you because you used interpreter and not translator.
He's an interpreter.
Sure, he says, yeah, it's an interpreter. Translator's not the same thing.
No. But Jose would have learned an awful lot from him, from Van Gaal, from other managers that he had helped out in different roles at Barcelona as well. So all of a sudden you go, I'm taking in all of this knowledge. I'm surrounded by this game. I'll start doing it myself. So it can be done. Some of the best managers in world football are never great footballers. In fact, most of the great players never make good managers either, because it's not about being able to play the game to be a good manager. You've got to be able to explain the game to other people. Like I used to work in sales years ago, and we had a guy who worked for us doing door-to-door selling, and he was smashing everybody's sales figures. He was setting records every single week. This guy was a machine for door-to-door selling, and the first thing we always thought was, there's something dodgy going on here. So I went out with him for a day, and I knocked on all the doors with him and just had a little look, see how he did things, and we bottle what he was doing and give it to the rest of our team.
Yeah.
And when we came back in afterwards, I met with my boss, and he goes, "Well, how'd you get on?" And I said, I don't know. And he goes, "What's he doing different?" He was like, "Nothing. He just has a really nice way about him. People keep inviting him into his house. I've had 3 dinners today. I've been invited him for dinner 3 times today while making sales. I've never seen this before. There's nothing that he's doing that nobody else is doing. He just has a charisma about him that people want to, But he wanted to be a manager of our team, and we kept saying to him, "Well, we don't see that as where you should be going, because can you teach people to do what you've done?" And he's like, "Well, yeah." I was like, "Cool, then tell me how you do what you do." And he goes, "I can't." Well, then you can't teach it. If you can't explain how you do something, it's very hard to pass that on to somebody else. So when you get a situation with a really good player, if they can articulate how to become as good a player as they are, this is what I do, and this is when I'm here, this, all those kind of little small bits, then you can do it. But a lot of players can't do that. They're gifted because they're naturally gifted footballers. So then when you go explain how you do the things that you do, they go, "I don't know, I just do them. They're just a reflex."
Yeah.
And then you've got lesser players who work really hard to get up the ladder. So they're constantly working on little aspects of their game. So then when you ask them, how are you able to do the things that you did? Well, actually, this is what I did. And then this is what I did.
A very good example of that is Frank Lampard. I mean, he was a fantastic footballer, like unbelievable in the way he struck a ball, but he doesn't seem to be able to coach. And I think a lot of people, and I think actually some of the Everton players mentioned this, that they didn't really get coached. He's kind of set you up in a system and said, "Go play," and it's like, and I think you start to see that a few times with people like, I know Sam Allardyce and people like that have had careers and have done well, but when you actually look into it, a lot of them, now we're sort of finding out through social media and stuff, that a lot of the time you just pick a team and go and play football, or just be tight at the back and tell them how to be tight. It's like, how have they got careers for this long? Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked, but yeah, Frank Lampard, fantastic footballer, technician, amazing midfielder. I always liked him as a footballer before I knew his personality, and he's just not a very good coach, and it takes, like you say, Joe, somebody who's more of an understander of the game, like Pep Guardiola, also a midfielder, but he was a sort of a deep lying midfielder who would watch everything in front of him and watch the game play out and be the one marshalling things. And I think that's why
he had some great coaches as well, though, didn't he?
Yeah,
that he must have learned from, because he was from the Cruyff system, weren't he? He was like Cruyff, Van Basten,
Koeman,
Koeman,
serious
player. So he's learned from them. But Guardiola was not a bad player.
No,
yeah, I think we're digressing here a lot, aren't we? Going into like stuff like old managers, but he learned from a lot of like great coaches, and that made him a better coach. The same with like people like Mourinho. But you're right, there isn't that many amazing footballers that have gone on to have amazing managerial careers. Like, I think Farke was like the striker in lower Klopp.
Yeah,
a lot of them were all just players in lower divisions. Eric Ten Hag, well, he's not very good anyway, but he was a terrible footballer.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's different. It's massively different.
I was just going to say, just before we move on, I saw a clip of just because we're talking about this. And I love talking about stuff like this because I saw a clip of Jose Mourinho saying that he knew that Xabi Alonso would be a fantastic coach, and he was like, "Look at who he's been coached by. He's been coached by me." Obviously, he was going to say himself. Yeah. He played for Liverpool. He played for Rafa Benitez. He played for Jose Mourinho. He played for Pep Guardiola at Bayern. He played for Ancelotti as well, I think.
No, but Xavi would have been Real. Xavi was no. Ancelotti didn't manage Barcelona.
There was another amazing coach. Basically, he's been managed by them all, and again, he's that holding midfielder where he looks and sees everything in front of him. Yep. And he's doing amazing stuff with Leverkusen this season.
Yeah, but he's slightly different than Guardiola in one sense, because Guardiola and Klopp are very interesting because they don't play the style of football that they were as players. Yeah. Like Klopp was very much a hit and run kind of a player. You know, he was tough tackling, tough player. And the football he plays at Liverpool is this expansive, wide, attacking, flowing football. So it's always what you kind of want. There was another guy that I had, just one final bit before we move on. It was a kid that I had playing for me a couple of years ago. Really good striker, lots of interest in learning the game, but just wasn't scoring enough goals and wasn't getting into the team. And I took him out for a day and we just spent a bit of time on our ground, me and him on his own, got a load of footballs, and we worked on one run that I wanted him to make that he wasn't making. And I've tried to pass this on to as many strikers because I used to make this run and it always worked for me. I wasn't the best striker at my level. I could score goals. I could go through times where I wasn't scoring, but if I knew where to be at certain points. And it was when the ball is wide and it's getting popped across low into the box. Most strikers will run outside the front post and try and flick the ball around the back of them into the goal, which is a very hard.
They think that they need to be there first, and that's the only way they'll get it.
So what I had said to him was, change your thinking on this. Angle your run towards the inside of the front post. Make sure your body is facing that direction. Make sure you're completely squared up to facing inside the front post, and get that run across. You'll still get there before the goalkeeper, but what will happen is if it takes a deflection or takes a bounce, it doesn't matter what part of your body it hits. It will go directly the way you're facing. The momentum of the ball will bounce, hit you, and go straight where you're facing. So just face that corner, and when the ball does come across and you get there, it'll bounce, hit you in the knee, hit your shin, but it will go directly the direction that you're. And it worked for him. It worked for him. His first game he played when he scored twice today. I've a little photograph. He can run over the sideline, give me a big hug, and I kept that photograph because it was a nice moment as well. But it was again just about taking a step back from the game and going, if I can give you one thing that you don't do, that you should do, or change one little thing. And as you said, sometimes great players can't explain that to people because they haven't analysed their own game, because they haven't had to analyse their game. They haven't had their game analysed, because all you ever heard about Frank Lampard when he was a player was the best scanning midfielder in the business. Like there's videos of him, scanning his shoulders constantly inside a minute. He was like 20 times in a minute. Then try and get some. Did he ever pass that on to anybody? Did he ever try and teach anyone that skill? Has he ever, can you do that? So they're very different jobs. They're very, very different jobs. But yeah,
ironically, that's the run that we need Pirro to make. A lot of the time that we have a ball cut across the box and there's nobody there, and we're talking about this number 10 striker thing, and who's going to make it into the box. That's where, for those crosses, that's where you want at least somebody to be there, don't you? To direct those in. I've seen them so many times just fizz across the face of the box and go out for a throw in on the other side, or cleared by a defender, and I'm like, oh, that's a guaranteed goal if someone makes the right run. But
yeah, it's a good place to be in. It's that corridor uncertainty that you talk about as well, Max. It's in that area.
I love the corridor uncertainty.
But it's a thing though, because defenders don't want to touch the ball because they tend to be in that situation. They tend to be defending facing their own goal. So a deflection can mean a goal. And a goalkeeper doesn't want to come out in case he gets into trouble. So nobody ends up doing anything, and we just don't have a natural. We don't have a number 9 poacher who does that run. I think
that's exactly what happened in the England game last night. For the first goal, I'm pretty sure Kane. One of them tried to cut it back from the sideline. It just hit a multiplayer and just bounced straight in the net. And it happens all the time.
It was a fact, I think, from and I say this begrudgingly and with angry blood in my system. Alex Ferguson's last season at Manchester United, when he won the league, was the only time I ever gave him any credit, because I just thought that was a rubbish Manchester United side. I don't know how you won a league title with them. They were awful. And I managed to win a league title with them. But I think if you looked at them that season, their second top goal scorer was OGs. So what they had done the same was they were getting to the end line and just smashing the ball back across the goal. Just hit off anybody and go in the back of the net, goal. It's not about how it goes in the back of the net. It just matters that it does go in the back of the net. So even with average players, you've got a manager and a coach who can say, right, we've not got creative players. We're not going to create loads of chances. So when we get into these areas, let's look at different ways of creating chances. So when we get into the end line, as hard as you can hit that ball across, low and hard across the box, and wait and see what happens. And it worked for him that season, so it can be about effective. We got slightly off topic, but we're talking about managers. And I think bring it back around. Michael Skubala, I think, from a technical perspective, has the ability.
Forgot that's where we came from.
That's where we started, wasn't it? Yeah.
Eventually get back down a rabbit hole. I think he'll do well at Lincoln. I think he'll do a good job there. I'm delighted to see him getting the first team manager. I wish him nothing but success. He's done a cracking job for Leeds. And as Kev, as you said, in the moments of absolute sheer panic last season, he was a calming influence on the players and a calming influence on the fans as well. And so best of luck to Skubs. I wish him all the best. And if any Lincoln City fans watching this, you're getting a very good coach. Back him, give him time. He'll do a great job for you. Moving on then to the last topic of today. We're at about 40 minutes, so we'll wrap this up soon enough. But we saw the exits of Finley Gorman this week, and rumours that Manchester City are not done with raiding Leeds United's academy. They're also interested in Harry Gray, and they're keeping an eye on a fullback at Leeds. Well, I can't remember the name. There was a name mentioned as well, a bit of fullback that they're keeping an eye on as well. Finley Gorman has gone for what will be a British transfer record of £1.5 million. That could rise to over £5 million depending on add-ons and depending on how it goes. To clarify the questions I've gotten this week around this story, just to give people the context, there was very little Leeds could do about this because he's a schoolboy and not a scholar. He hasn't got a scholarship at Leeds. Kev has a good point to bring up in a sec about this as well. He was a schoolboy, so it's very much a family decision whether they want to leave or not. Leeds could have waited for compensation, but they would have got less than £1 million for him if they'd gone for compensation. So instead, there was this decision to negotiate a package. So Leeds will get 1.5 million, I think, up front when Finley moves on, and then it could rise to 5 million over the course of his career should he tick all the boxes that are in this and should he become the player that they think he is. Man City described Finley Gorman as a generational talent, which hurts me so much to hear that we had a generational talent. You're talking of the level of a Haaland or of a Bellingham. And again, the reason for why Manchester City are buying these players at this age, because they bought a few of them from a few clubs in the summer as well. They spent a couple of million on a lot of kids this year. Some of it's got to do with Brexit because it's easier to bring them in. The second part of it is due to if they do end up being a Bellingham or a Haaland, and you're talking of paying over 100 million for that player when he's 19, 20, 21. So instead you grab him at 14, 15, you pay $1.5 million for him and he's yours. And if he does develop, great. If he doesn't, you've lost $1.5 million. Not the end of the world. Kev, thoughts on this?
I'll start crying if you keep talking about generational talent, because if Man City are calling this lad a generational talent, then we have had some player on our books. I know he's a young kid, and I just want to emphasize the fact that Leeds couldn't do nothing about this. This is a parent's choice more than it would be for Finley Gorman actually making this decision, because we know what Man City are like. They've been given a little bit of a sweetener as well when it comes to this. Definitely have to make a decision, because this is primarily it'll be them that are saying to him, okay, we've had this with this. We think this is best for you, and you go off and do this. I feel that we've lost out massively here, but also, will most fans even know who Finley Gorman is? Will they look at it as like you can't lose what you've never had, sort of thing? But for that amount of money that you're paying for a 15-year-old, this lad's the business. He must be the business. I've seen some videos of him. Yeah, he's generational talent in that sort of a flair player, passing, movement, everything. He's got it all. And yeah, looks like the next Jude Bellingham will be playing for Man City and not Leeds. 5
or 6 goals I think he has for the under 18 team. 2 of those were scored when he was 14. So he was 4 years younger than the age bracket he was playing in, and was scoring braces in the game. He's got a hat-trick in one game. I think he's got 2 in another game for the under 18 team as well. He's not alone, and it should be said that we've got a really, really strong crop of young players coming through the academy right now. The academy seems to be producing some real beauts. Charlie Crew looks like he's really going to be pushing through as well. He's now captain in his international side at 3 or 4 different age groups, playing consistently for the under 18s as well. Harry Gray is pulling up trees again, another 14-year-old who's been playing for the 18s. And again, when I was talking to Skubala about the interview, I did ask about Harry Gray and Finley Gorman. I was asked to leave that out again because they were minors. But in the conversation about the two of them, it was said about stretch assignments, that the younger players at Leeds have been given stretch assignments. So if you're killing it at under 15s, we're not going to play you there anymore. We're going to play you slightly out of your natural position in the under 16 or 17 team to get you better at playing. And Skubala's thinking on it was, when you go out on loan to your first club, you probably won't make your debut in your natural position. You'll make it in a different position where you'll be filling a slot, filling a hole. Look at Archie Gray this year at Leeds playing right back. You know, that kind of thing will happen. So it's been a tough one. He's got a lot of goals, very young. Max, where's your head at with all of that?
It's just a shame, isn't it, to see them go before they get a chance to ever play for the first team, because even like Archie Gray, he's got the potential to be a 70, 80, 90 million pound player one day. But we've at least got him in the team, and he knows that he's got a place in this team already, and he's Leeds through and through, and wants to play, and he's obviously all his family and stuff as well. Finley Gorman's a little bit different because he doesn't have that history attached to Leeds with his family members and stuff playing. But from the little bits that I've seen of him, he just seems like he's really tricky. He's really skillful for his age, and he's really good at playing passes, long passes over the top as well. So he'd be a fantastic sort of box-to-box midfielder, or a number 10, or even on the wing as well. He just seems like he can play anywhere across that midfield, and probably even an attack as well, though, from what I've seen of him finishing as well. So it does seem a shame, doesn't it? It does seem a real shame to lose somebody that obviously is being described as a generational talent, but you just never know, do you? You never know whether he's going to make it or not. He might look fantastic at this age. He might never do anything. We don't know. So it's not great, is it? It's not great to lose players before they even get a chance to get in the first team. And you also think, like, for me, I don't understand where the thought process comes from that you think you've got more of a chance of playing for Manchester City than you do of playing for Leeds. I don't get that bit, because I get, yes, it's Manchester City. They've got a fantastic academy, probably one of the best in the world, and they're the best team in the world. But for somebody who's, how old is he? 15?
Just gone 15.
Just 15, yeah. It's a big risk to take, isn't it? To say, I'm going to go and play for Man City, and obviously Man City have sold them a dream and say, yeah, I'll be in the first team in a few years or whatever. But there's no guarantee of that, is there? And they can't promise that. So for me, I mean, this is why I compare him to Archie Gray, because obviously Archie's older than him. But Archie's got that grounding, I think, where to the point where he understands what it is to play for Leeds, and that it's still a massive club, and that you've got much more of a chance of playing here. And so, I hope that other players aren't attracted away like that, because we still have a really, really good academy where they're playing alongside really good other players in there. And all they
Leeds United are higher in the table at that age group than Manchester City.
Man City. All they have to do, these young players, is look to the first team and go, "Oh, Archie Gray's getting in. I can see myself there. I can do it," because somebody that's only 17 is managing to do it. So they have something to aim for there. And Somerville, I know Somerville and Strauch and other of those players didn't come through the academy from the start, but they did get signed when they were like 17, 18 or whatever. I mean, Pascal, I just did a video on him today, actually. He played for the Ajax youth teams, and Leeds is actually the only senior club he's ever played for. And so again, it's still that he came through an academy and then has now got a chance in the first team. And yeah, there's many examples that they can look at in that first team and go, yeah, that's something to aim for. So it's just personally, I don't get the logic of going to a Man City, because there's no guarantee that you're going to get any time.
It is the season of giving, as Kev is just a big bag of cash goes a long way to changing your mind and stuff. Kev, you mentioned somebody to me before we came on. A similar situation. Max has just said there, no guarantee you're going to make it at that level by making that move.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys we obviously spoke about it off air. Michael Woods, we had this hot prospect in the Leeds academy, and there was another guy as well. Was it Taiwo? Tom Taiwo. Yep.
Yeah.
These two were going to be the next big things to come out of Leeds United. They were going to be the two central midfield king linchpins for years and years, and they got tapped up by Chelsea. And there was a big thing about it. Ken Bates took Chelsea to court, and I think Chelsea had to pay $5 million for Michael Woods. I don't know where Tom Taiwo is now, but Michael Woods, we've looked him up. So he was going to be this next big Finley Gorman style wonder kid that was going to take world football by storm. We've just looked him up where he is now, and he's playing for South Shields at the minute, isn't he? Yeah, yeah.
Pretty peak. Most of his career appearances were at Hartlepool.
Yeah.
Yeah, played for York for a while up till this year. Was at York. Tom Taiwo has had a worse time. So when Woods left Leeds, he's not credited with any senior as Leeds being a club even because he wasn't on a scholarship as well. It was the same situation. He was a schoolboy. He rejected a scholarship from Leeds to go to Chelsea. And so his career is Chelsea, Notts County, Yeovil, Doncaster, Harrogate, Hartlepool, back to Harrogate, Dover, York, and South Shields. I mean, you're not pulling up any trees with those.
Tell you what, he's moved around the country there, hasn't he? From one end to the other.
Well,
with Dover and South Shields.
If you look at Tom Taiwo, an English under-17 international, Chelsea on loan at Port Vale, on loan at Carlisle United, permanent at Carlisle United, then Hibernia in Scotland, at Falkirk in Scotland, and retired, finished up in 2019 at Hamilton Academicals. He's 33 and he's finished playing.
Just out of interest, and I'm guessing if I don't know, then some people in the chat in the comments probably don't know either. What's the difference between the schoolboy and a scholar?
I don't know the full details, but when you take a scholarship, basically Leeds are paying for your education through the club as well. So you
can sign pre-contract agreements. Yeah, you can at 16 you can sign a pre-contract agreement to join Leeds permanently as a full-time member of staff. Basically, if you look at it like an employment law on their 17th birthday, so you can sign pre-contract agreement with this. Right. And when they're at school, they get to wear the Leeds United ties. They get to go to have all of that sort of stuff. This is what we had with the Coventry lads in school. They had and they got to go I'd have special education elsewhere during and paid for by the professional clubs. Yeah. But because Finley Gorman's basically just turned 15, he wouldn't even be able. I think you can at 15 sometimes, but because he was 14 and while he's only just turned 15 now and it's all gone through, there's something that's probably been going on in the background with Man City with this Finley Gorman for a long time, and he's decided not to sign a scholarship agreement with Leeds, and then now he can go on to Man City and sign that scholarship agreement. But Leeds have obviously done it outside of obviously the tribunal process. So and if they're paying £5 million outside of a tribunal, then this kid is obviously really, really good for his age group. And
it's $1.5 million up front.
Yeah.
And if we'd gone to tribunal, the max we would have got is $1 million. Yep. So they've gone up front. Here's $1.5 million. And by the way, we were also tick all these boxes as well. If he makes so many appearances, if he gets international cap, whatever else, then we've been paying of $5 million. At that point, you'll say it's bad business. We've had our pants pulled down. But if you look at Michael Woods and Tom Taiwo, it just didn't work out. I've said this before we came on as well. Young players peak at different ages. They don't all peak at 16. I played with kids when I was 16 when I wasn't getting into the team, and the 16-year-olds I was playing with were absolutely destroying teams. We're going over to England on trial. We're brilliant. I remember my dad saying to me, "Don't worry about them. Worry about yourself. Keep worrying about what you're doing," and it worked out well for me. A lot of players that I played with, I ended up playing at a higher level than they did when I got older. But it's a process.
You see it in professional as well, don't you? You see with Jack Wilshere.
Yeah.
You see with Michael Owen. There's players who've seemed like, oh my god, they're going to be the best player in the world, but they hit that peak ceiling, is just a lot earlier.
Past that ceiling. That's it. Like you look at, and I could be very wrong, and this is not against Finley Gorman, but Finley Gorman may have peaked. He might not get any better than he is right now. Yeah. Whereas you could look at younger players in that club who might not be at his level, but over the next 4 or 5 years will get better and keep improving and will go on to bigger and better things. I mean, Jamie Vardy's a very good example of that as well. A player that at youth level just wasn't going to make the grade and was pushed off down the divisions, ends up playing non-league football and has clawed his way back up to being a Premier League winner. It doesn't always happen at the right time, but it is a big gamble. The reason, and that gamble is a big gamble for a reason, as we said before. If he does end up being a generational talent at 20, he's going to be worth a couple of $100 million.
Yeah,
and you got him for 5.
To put this transfer into context of like how much people are paid for tribunals and stuff. Daniel Sturridge was bought from Coventry for 50k by Man City when he was 15, 16. And these guys are paying 5 million for him now at this age. So that puts into context what they think of how good this lad can be.
The comment I saw out of Manchester City, I work one of my old bosses in work. I work in different teams now, but I have a call with him every couple of weeks. My next call with him is next week, and his son is involved with Manchester City Academy, and he goes to a lot of the games. I'm interested to get his take on it and see what he's heard internally. But yeah, if they'll save themselves a huge amount of money, but they have to make these moves for these kids at this age. I think it's really, I don't think it's a great thing to be talking to kids at 15, 16 about transfers because money comes into it. And
I think it speaks to a wider issue, doesn't it?
It does. We've done it. So we can't say that we're squeaky clean. Leeds Academy over the last couple of years has been taking kids from other academies, lesser academies, to bring them in. So that has been happening. But when you're putting money behind it as well, where it's a fee of that size involved in it, that's for a 15-year-old. I mean, it's a British transfer record for a 15-year-old. That's how big it is. You know, at a time in football where records aren't broken for transfer fees that often, and when they are, they're massive. Like that's a huge amount of money to get for a 15-year-old. And if he doesn't make it, if he has peaked and if he has hit his limit, these will walk away with this with a couple of million quid in their pocket and no harm, no foul. But the concern for me is that apparently, according to sources within Manchester City, they're having a good, strong look at Harry Gray as well. And if I go back a year ago, less than a year ago, and I'm planning on doing this with the man again soon, I had Jerry McDermott on the show. Jerry did scouting for Leeds in Ireland as well and knows a huge amount about the club. Great guy. But I had Jerry on, and Jerry said to us last year, keep an eye on Harry Gray. And he mentioned Finley Gorman as well, but he said, keep an eye on Harry Gray. He said he'll be the best striker in Europe in the next 10 years. Harry Gray is 15, 14 as well, same age group, and he is smashing goals in at every level that he's played at. Again, he has stretches and he's gone up. So it's not surprising Man City keep an eye on him as well. I would hope, though, in the situation where Harry, being a younger player and being your Gray and related to the legacy that leads, then maybe, as you said earlier on, Max, maybe he knows a bit more about what it is to play for Leeds.
Yeah, and like he's got his family as well, hasn't he? He's got people who will tell him what is the sensible thing to do, and to me, they're all going to say stay at Leeds, aren't they? And when you're a 15-year-old kid, you're going to listen to them, aren't you? You're going to listen to Eddie Gray, legend of the club. You're going to listen to Archie, your brother, who's you. I mean, this is when I was talking about youth players seeing somebody like Archie Gray in the first team and saying that could be me. No one more than his own brother going, my brother's made it into the team. I've got to make it into the team too. And if in 10 years' time we've got, I mean, with the trajectory that the 49ers are hoping that we go on, there's a potential that we keep both of them throughout all of it if it moves on fast enough. Because we've seen it at other clubs, haven't we, where it's moved on fast enough to keep hold of those players when in previous years they would have lost them. But like a Brighton now, you probably would have seen Evan Ferguson go to somebody else already with what he's shown. But because they've got European football, it's a bit of he'll stay for a bit. And so hopefully he's got the management around him, hasn't he? He's got the family around him. He should, once he's on a professional contract, he's probably going to be on the same agency as Archie, and I'm pretty sure that is, like I said the other week, isn't it? It's Hayden Evans and Richard Cresswell, and they seem very switched on and very look, this is what's best for you, and tell it to them straight, and don't sort of mollycoddle them too much. So I'm not too worried. I hope I don't have to be worried about it.
Yeah, I feel the same, Max. I feel the same. Great dynasty. I do feel, and again, you mentioned his brother's in the first team, and he's going to want to beat his brother, because I've always known about Archie Ray as this bright, hot prospect that's going to come into the Leeds team and be amazing. But they talk about Harry Gray as if he's already better than him now at that age, and smashing in goals and hearing all good reports. I do think we do hold a lot of cards when it comes to Harry Gray. Unless Man City do a Man City thing and they Man City it, I do think Harry Gray could be one.
But it's still down to the player and the player's family, isn't it? And will Harry will be on a scholarship, won't he? Surely.
Not yet. Next year.
Next year. Yeah.
Don't forget. Last year we were told, Archie, year before last year, we were told about Archie coming in, and Archie only signed scholarship terms last year.
Mm-hmm.
But he was training with the first team squad, and he had his own little dressing room because he was too young to train in change with the full time pros. So that was only a year. So he was on a scholarship. Then the Leeds gave him a 2-year contract when he turned 17 because they couldn't offer him that before 17. But the maximum contract length you can offer a 17-year-old is 2 years. Right. So until he turns 18. So when he turns 18 this year, you would imagine Leeds will go straight back into Harry Gray with a 5-year deal, Archie Gray, with a 5-year deal and a much bigger salary for the player, and that will lock him down for a couple of years. But you've got to watch what Harry over the next couple of years. Does he take a scholarship in the next 2 years, and then does he progress in again? Because to the point you're making a few minutes ago, if Archie's already making his debut and playing regular for Leeds at 17, and you're 15, that's 2 years. If you're better than him, if Finley, if you're that generational talent, 2 years is nothing. 24 months.
Yeah.
And you're playing first team football.
If he's that good, he can be playing at 16 as well. Yeah, I mean, we saw it with again these generational talents, Michael Owen, Wayne Rooney. They were all playing at 16. We've seen it with a few other players before. Maybe he can do it too.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. I'm going to keep an eye on over the next couple of months. Anyway, I'm sure we'll hear more about coming to January as well. Folks, we'll leave it there. Max, what's going on your channel this week?
A video I had scheduled actually went out during this recording. That's Pascal Struijk back on track to be the next Van Dijk? It's very tongue-in-cheek, the title, but it's just hopefully to get people to actually go and watch it. But it's just talking about how good how good Struijk has been this season. Just to be a little bit of a look at why he's improved and where he's improved. And you get a mention, Jer, for something that you said the other week about his kit never getting dirty because he reads the game so well. And yes, midweek there will be another Dream Teams at 5:00.
I have to say
on Wednesday.
And I'm not saying this because I've done one of them with you. I'm loving this series, the Dream Team series. I think it's brilliant. The teams that people are picking and why they're picking these players, I love it. I think it's fantastic, mate. You're doing a great job.
Honestly, it's a great idea, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic. Everybody's
making me blush, guys.
No, honestly, it's brilliant.
If you haven't checked this out, if you're watching this and you haven't checked out Dream Team on Max's channel, Leeds lately, go have a look at them. It's other Leeds content creators, but it's more a walk down nostalgia lane, I think, because we're talking about players that we liked when we were growing up and our favorite players. The favorite, not the best.
Favorite,
as Max keeps saying. So
yeah,
go check it out. I'm going to link them at the end of the video. So the little video box that'll be down here somewhere will have Max's latest video on it. Go check it out, and that'll be worth looking at as well. Kev, what's going on with Leeds House this week?
We've got we're recording tomorrow night. Me, Danny, and James. I missed Not Another Leeds podcast last night, so if anybody wants to go check that one out, they had OKB on last night, so Luke and Smarty were on there. So if anybody wants to go check that as well, go. We're just comedy guys, so if you want to go check it out, that'd be great.
Skubs and Prison Time. Came up, so it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of Leeds podcasts, and I appreciate everyone that watches these podcasts. But the Not Another Leeds House podcast is probably the most different Leeds United podcast that's out there. It's a lot of fun. It's a very enjoyable one. Go check it out if you've got some time to kill. Right, folks, everything will be linked down below. The last channels are there. Go check them out. Go give them a subscribe. We are 400 and something short of 20,000 subscribers. So if you want to give us a subscribe at this point to help us get over 20k, that would be nuts and great. I would very much appreciate that. And with that being said, I'm going to say goodbye now and go to bed because I'm dying. And I'm surprised we got through this without any coughing. Bar one, got through it. So, Kev, Max, thanks for giving me some of your Saturday. Again, apologies to everyone that we didn't get this out on Thursday. I did try, but next week we're back to normal scheduled programming. We'll have our preview with stats as well. Probably Thursday or Friday next week, leading into the weekend's game against Plymouth. So, go check that out. Right, I'll stop talking. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye.